What is up, everybody? It's Javier with the Enrichtifyers, and today we are having a look at episode 1 of Loki. And yes, you read the thumbnail correctly. This is the worst thing the MCU has ever made. And I really do think that, and I'm going to provide the evidence why this is the worst thing and why it completely destroys everything in the past the MCU has done, all the way back to the very first Iron Man. Now, before we get started with this, I wanted to say a little thing. I was never really interested in watching Loki. I had no plan really to watch it. I didn't watch it when it came out Wednesday. I only got interested in watching it after hearing about it, after hearing about the implications it provides and like everything about the universe has changed and people saying for the worst from the people who I follow. And I was like, really? And they basically tell me like, yeah, basically, there's these lords above lords who basically decide everything that happens in the MCU. I'm like, okay, well now I kind of have to see this because that's just what. So I had to see it. And just so you know, yes, I'm going to be spoiling Loki episode 1. So if you don't want to spoil, then click off this video or watch the episode and come back. So I watch it, and it completely blew my mind, and it completely changed the MCU for the worst. Now, is it the worst thing I've ever seen? No. There's things that are fine about it in terms of like production quality or whatever. It's not the worst thing ever made. But in terms of the MCU timeline and the MCU universe, it is the worst thing ever made. It completely fundamentally changes everything we know about it for the worst. Did I get some enjoyment out of this? Yeah, but mostly because of being dumbfounded by how this changed the MCU, or just because Tom Hiddleston's a good actor, or things like that. So, what I'm going to do is be basically reviewing / ranting about certain things about this. And we're just going to go through the episode because I kind of want to make as many points as I can and just talk about each one and why it completely wrecks it and why it makes no sense, because this is very poorly written as well. Nothing makes sense about this first episode, and probably nothing will make sense in future episodes. So let's go ahead and do this. So, I have it on the screen here, and we're just going to go through. Now, you may be seeing like a little gradient overlay. That's just to help avoid copyright. I'm not going to be playing the episode. I'm going to be kind of clicking through the browsing here so that I can just remember all the things that happen and just make sure I cover everything that I possibly can. So anyway, let's go ahead and go through, and I'll tell you why Loki is the worst thing ever for the MCU. So, of course, we start with basically the events of Avengers Endgame, that we see from Avengers Endgame, where Loki is taken into prisoner after his defeat from the first Avengers, and they walk, and basically what happens is Tony has his heart attack, Ant-Man kicks the thing, and Loki takes the Tesseract and basically escapes. And then we see what happens after that. Now, first thing to note is that he basically launches himself from the portal into, like, the desert. So why? Doesn't the Space Stone allow you to travel anywhere? Like, literally anywhere and anything. Why do this? Why teleport yourself in the sky down and have you, like, face plant at immense speed that could possibly hurt you? Maybe not Loki, who knows? There, like why not open that portal on the ground? Isn't that the power of the Space Stone? Thanos was able to go anywhere he wanted with it. Is this something only Thanos can do? As far as we're concerned with the Space Stone, it allows you to go anywhere in the universe you want. So why did Loki just do this? That's just extremely stupid. Makes no sense. It's just for comedic effect. That's something a lot of this show does, this first episode, is that things that make no sense or that completely break what we understand about the MCU is just done for the sake of a joke. And not a very good one. But anyway, he falls out of the sky like a dummy. Just lands there, and then there's like some locals, and then he tries to present himself as the god or whatever. And then the TVA come in. This is our first glimpse of the TVA. They come in and they're like, uh-oh, we have a standard sequence violation. Now we'll get into the TVA because basically, to summarize, the TVA are basically a bunch of time and space Nazis, time and space fascists. That's basically what they are. And we'll get into that. But first, so they come in, and Loki's like, ooh, please don't touch that. Don't touch that. Then we get this lady here, who is like a standard sequence violation, and that the thing's redlining. Now, something to talk about here is from our little monitor. Bring it up. Is that this is like the main timeline, it seems, and then this is like, oh, the branching. And in the future scene, there's something where it's like red line, and apparently like you can't be in the timeline when that thing hits red line. I don't know why, but that's discovered in the future scene. But that's just something interesting I caught because I've seen this episode twice. I watched it once on Friday and then again on Saturday, so I could have a better glimpse of this. So anyway, and basically she says, on behalf of the Time Variance Authority, I arrest you for your crimes. Hands up, you're coming with me. It's like, okay. So it's like, first of all, this whole crime thing makes no sense because like how you committed a crime is like nobody knows these people exist, and it's made very clear later on that nobody knows the TVA exists until they commit a crime. Nobody knows about the TVA. Nobody knows about the Time Variance Authority or the Time Lords or any of this until an actual crime is committed. So it's like these people show up and they act like, oh, you broke a thing. It's like nobody knows you exist. So she says, I arrest you for crimes against the sacred timeline. Very simple. But that's not even the worst part. The worst part is that Loki doesn't use his powers to help fight them off. He basically tries to assert his dominance. This is actually your last chance. Get out of my way. And he just walks up and just takes it in the face. It's like, Loki, you have powers of like, illusion and things like that. Why are you not using any of your power? He just walks up like a dummy to these people who he has no idea what they are, no idea what their power level is, doesn't know anything about them. So it's like, why do you want to just walk up to them and just pretend like they're just normal human beings who are no threat? Like, why did he not use his powers when confronting them just here and now? He just walks up, lady hits him in the face, slows him down, puts the collar on him. And by the way, the lady here has to say very obviously to the dumb people in the audience, you're at 1/60th of your speed, but feeling all that pain. Like, thanks, we couldn't tell. Talking to the audience like a bunch of idiots. Like, we can tell. Just slap the thing, just hit him, slap the thing on him, and then he falls. Like, we get it. We're not dumb, but it talks to us dumb like we have to have it baby-fed explained to us. So anyway, Loki gets hit down like the dumb ass he is. They get taken, they take the Tesseract, and basically they reset the timeline. Now, it's not explained what reset the timeline means. Does that mean that this branch that happens, is it basically erased? Is this all the people who are now in this timeline erased? Because, like, looking at this footage here, it seems to be like what is a vaporizing thing, and it seems to match the same kind of like vaporizing look that somebody gets when he gets stabbed with the rod later on in this episode, and we'll get to that because that's just a whole sake of terribleness. But like, we don't know what reset the timeline means. Does that mean like this whole timeline is now erased now? And the other thing is that we'll actually get to that when we get to Loki's courtroom scene. So anyway, Loki gets taken here. He doesn't try to use his powers at all in here. Not at all. Gets taken to this room. Here's the TVA. There's like the check-in office. We have a scroll variant. We also have like some other people, like this guy who's apparently like late for, I don't know, just random person. Loki tries to run, and it's just, she has a time thing that's able to bring him back to where he was standing. And it's like, Loki, why aren't you using your powers? Why are you trying to run? Because the thing is, later in the courtroom scene, he tries to use his powers, and he's surprised, like, it doesn't work here. It's like, why didn't you use this here? Why didn't you use your powers before? Why you wait till there to use your powers? Like, it makes no sense. If you were in a situation where, like, I'm being captured, I'm being taken to prison, I need to get out of here, why aren't you trying to at least attempt to use your powers instantly? He waits until the courtroom for his first attempt to do his powers. It's so dumb. It's so stupid. The writing in this first episode, and probably in the rest of the series, if I had to guess, is terrible. I don't know what people are saying when they give this show a 10. I heard Angry Joe gave this a 10 out of 10. Are you insane? 10 out of 10? 10 out of 10. No, it's not a 10 out of 10. No. So anyway, little joke thing, whatever. Then we have Casey, who's basically comedic relief and stupid as heck, who also doesn't know what a fish is. as we find out later. He doesn't know what a fish is. He works for the TVA. He's been alive for maybe, God knows how long. Encountered many things, probably knows about many worlds. He should be more intellectual than the average being in the universe because of how long he's been alive and how many things he's interacted with or encountered. But apparently he doesn't know what a fish is. Okay. So anyway, they put Loki in this room, and it's like this machine. I don't know why it has this screen or whatever. It has this like 60 aesthetic, whatnot. Takes his clothes taken off, and then this guy says, "Please sign here to verify this is everything you've ever said." Now, Loki is at least like what, over 1,000 years old? There's no way this piece of paper is everything he's ever said ever. No way. Not this stack of paper. No. And how would Loki verify that? Please sign here to verify this is everything you ever said. He have to read the whole thing to verify that. It's basically like the terms and conditions with something. No one ever reads them, so they just sign. And of course, it makes a joke because Loki speaks and then another page prints. It's like this, whatever. But the point here, basically, before we're getting too lost off track, is this piece of paper here. These pieces of paper, that's everything Loki has ever said in the history of his life? No. That paper pack should be like hundreds of times taller than that. That's like the size of a Stephen King book. That's about as thick as like the thick Stephen King book. That's no way that's everything he has ever said ever. No way. Anyway, little joke played, whatever. Loki signs it. And then he gets put down to this thing. More comedic relief, making Loki look more dumb than really obviously he should. And this thing is to test out if he has a soul or not. And of course, and everyone in the TVA is also a big butthole. Like seriously, they're extremely rude. The guard who captured Loki, extremely rude. Is one thing, but like everyone else shares kind of like that same attitude, except like Casey and Owen Wilson's character. It's like seriously, the TVA are a bunch of a-holes and fascistic Nazis. Like seriously, they are. So anyway, he enters this room and then there's a number and there's that guy again and he doesn't take a number. And then we get an explanation of everything. So we get like a 60s animation style, which I don't know why the heck they're going with this. Is it just for laughs or giggles? Like, why does a space god's outside of time and space and that knows time in and out and stuff want to go with the 60s aesthetic animation? I have no idea. Okay. And apparently she says, all right, I myth, and now you're going to be in trial for your crimes. So if you break the timeline, if you do a choice outside of whatever the sacred timeline is, it's a crime, and you're going to be tried for it. Well, tried for it. Not really. You're going to be killed for it, as we find out later. Because as of now, we don't know any other sentencings except reset, which Owen Wilson's character confirms later is kill. So anyone who breaks the timeline does a choice that the space lizards don't want, they die. The TVA comes in, says you committed a crime, they take them in, try them to reset, kills them. Like seriously, so it explains here that like long ago there was a multiversal war, countless timelines battling for supremacy, which I don't know how the heck that makes any sense at all. I don't know why. Nothing makes sense. It just happens. Don't question it. It just happens. Anyway. All right. So, and because of them being for supremacy, everything was almost destroyed. Then the 3 space lizards decided to make a sacred timeline of everything. And basically the proper flow of time. And that's basically how they manage it. Now, the other thing is, and it explains here, is that sometimes people diverge their path. And these are called variants, And and apparently the reason why they have to stop these variants is because if left unchecked, it's going to create a bunch of more timelines again, multiversal war, and basically it may result in the collapse of everything. Okay? But the thing is, it's like, you can go to crime. Like, literally here, it says, for the littlest of things, you do something just a smidge outside the timeline, and the TVA come and take you. As little as late for work. It says it right here. Here's that image. You can do something that's just late for work, and that's wrong. You can't do that. It's outside the timeline, so they have to go get it. Incredible workers. Also, other thing is that these TVA, these people who work for the TVA, they're not humans from what we know. They just happen to look like humans, for whatever reason. They could have literally been any kind of alien, space-looking creature, whatever, and these space-time gods decided to make them humans. Like, how powerful are these gods? That's another question that should be answered. How powerful are these people? These gods, these three gods. If they're that powerful, why don't they make TVA officers, time space cops, much more powerful than they are? Like, literally later in the episode, Loki is able to take on one. It's like, if you have the power to make them more powerful, why don't you? It's not like... It makes no sense. All right, so... Basically, the TVA have to go and catch your variant for whatever, and pull you out. Say like, how dare you do this? And then they have to reset the timeline. And from this animation, it looks like it destroys it. So then, another version of you appears, which means that the implication is that anyone walking on the street could be like a reset version of whatever. Like, basically, you just pop up. So, like, you think that Tony Stark along this did a choice that the space gods didn't? They took him, reset him, and then basically another version of Tony popped up who makes the right choice? Like, literally, this is the whole deal. Free will doesn't exist anymore in the MCU. If a character made another choice out that would have resulted in something else, the TVA would have come in, taken that person, tried him, reset, and set the timeline in. No free will exists, because if you do something outside of what the space lizards want, you're taken away to the TVA to be tried. Like, literally. The whole MCU, every choice that every character ever makes, from Tony to Captain America to Thor to all the other Avengers to Spider-Man, everything, if they did not make the right decisions, TVA comes in and takes them away and resets them with a new one. No one has free will. No one has free will. How many times how many timeline breakages are there a day? How many Nexus events are there a day? Like, literally, no one has free will. No one has free will in this universe anymore. And the other thing is if it's a predetermined path, as in it's already been determined, it's always has been, always will be, then why do Nexus events occur? It makes no sense. Predetermined means that it's already going to happen, it's already set to happen, it's what's going to happen. And there's nothing anyone can do to change that, because this path is already selected. But no, the people can apparently get out of their predetermined path, God knows why. Somehow they can, even though it's predetermined, already set and decided, they can go out of their path. It makes no sense. It's not predetermined. It can't be a predetermined path and also have Nexus events at the same time. It is inconsistent. They don't go together. And also the other thing is like, shouldn't the Avengers be on trial? Because that's what Loki brings up later. Shouldn't the Avengers be on trial? Because their whole timeline, their whole plotline thing happens because Loki takes the Tesseract. If Loki didn't take the Tesseract, the time-traveling Avengers from the future, set an Endgame, could have like done something to grab it and then be on their merry way. But the events that happen, Tony and Cap have to go back to another time, further in the past, because Loki takes it. So shouldn't they be off their course of events, like their predetermined path as well, because Loki messed it up for them? Like later, the judge says, like, oh, the Avengers were supposed to travel back in time and get that. You escaping was not. It's like, then the Avengers Endgame shouldn't have happened. That shouldn't have happened. Because Loki took the Tesseract, therefore, now the whole plan is messed up for the Avengers. They have to go somewhere else to get the Tesseract. It makes no sense. Nothing makes sense in this show. Nothing. It's completely broken on every level. You have to stand trial for your offenses. It's like nobody knows these offenses occur. Like, they're literally trying them like they're a murderous terrible person. It's like, nobody knows about this. They'll say, oh, ignorance of the law is not an excuse. The law doesn't exist until it breaks. Nobody knows the law exists. Literally, the TVA doesn't make their presence known to anyone or anything. By the way, do the TVA just come in right at the Nexus event? Because what if a Nexus event happens in the middle of public? Do the TVA just come in and everyone sees it? What if they can people record the TVA and stuff and be like, who the heck were these people? What are these gates? Whatever. Like if someone makes a choice that's not supposed to be on the timeline, then do they come in just right when that choice is made? What if it's out in the middle of a New York City street in front of a whole group of people? Do they not mind people seeing them? I mean, I would assume not, because first off, they're powerful enough, I guess it wouldn't matter. But secondly, it would... Well, if they reset the timeline, then I guess that just destroys the world. They kill millions of people. Like, literally, there's so many questions that this episode doesn't answer. I hope that the future episodes answers some of these questions that are posed. My guess is that they won't, because they don't care. But we'll see. All right, so here's the thing I want to get to. Is they literally... Okay. They literally melt this guy for not having a number and basically being confrontational with the officer. They melt him. Well then, what the heck is the point of the trial? What's the point of the court case system if they're allowed to just burn someone to a crisp for literally just being rude or whatever? What's the point? And that's the other thing, is that what other sentencings are there if there are others ones besides reset? Because if reset's the only sentence, and if resets means kill, why don't the TVA officers just kill the variant right when they show up? Right? Why do they not kill Loki right when they show up? If every single court case ends in a reset. Because we don't know, the show has not shown so far any other sentencing that you can get so far. The only thing other we know is that if Owen Wilson comes in and needs your help. But if not that, then what other is there? Because if all everyone gets is a reset, which is confirmed to be killing, they have to kill you because you have no place on the timeline anymore, then why don't they just kill them when they arrive? Because if you can just kill someone here for not having a number and just being rude, then there's no point of the court system. Like, literally, unjustified court. This is what I mean by the TVA are a bunch of a-holes and space-time fascists. They are. They are. The show presents the TVA like they're the good guys. They're not the good guys. They're evil. I hope by the end of the series, it'd probably be like a near impossible whatever, but it would give me emotional satisfaction that Loki destroys the whole TVA and kills all the Time Lords. I want them to die. I want everyone in the TVA to die. I want the Time Lords to die. I don't want the TVA to exist going forward. And be in mind that even beforehand, that won't fix anything that says destroyed. This has destroyed the entire MCU. So anyway, okay, we need to move through this before I question things. All right, so we get the Loki title screen. Then we get to Owen Wilson. So there's a variant who's on the loose killing a bunch of their time cops, which makes no sense because, like, these time cops, they're outside space and time. Don't they know what's going to happen? Don't they know who they're going for? Don't they know their power capabilities? How does this variant get the drop on them? And if so, can't they just go back a minute? Like, oh, we came in like a little too late. That person got the drop on us. Let's enter a minute earlier. Let's send in a new team. We'll enter them a minute earlier. And they can get the drop on them. Like, these gods are outside space and time, and these people are outside space and time, and these people supposedly have a great bit of knowledge of lots of things. They should be able to because they've been alive for a long time and they dealt with multiple worlds and things and all this stuff. And they're supposed to know everything that everyone is supposed to do according to time. They have the past, the present, and the future. They're all-knowing, omnipotent, but they can't capture Loki? They should be able to know whatever it is. And yes, it's revealed later that it's Loki. Another version of Loki, whatever. It makes no sense. Makes no sense. If you're all-knowing, all-powerful, and know everything that's going to happen past, present, future, how do you not account for this? Also, if you know what's going to happen in terms of variance, if you know past, present, future, variance, and you know who's going to be variant, why don't you fix that before? Why do you do it right when of? Nothing makes sense in this. This is what happens when you introduce things like this. So many questions. Anyway, they meet this girl, whatever. She says, like, the devil did it, but really it's Loki. And, trying to get some information out of her. They're going to reset. And this is also where we get introduced where it's redlining, which means, like, if they're still here when that hits the red line, does that mean they're, like, stuck or whatever? It's not explained. Maybe in the future it will be. Anyway, here's the court case. Now, being tried for the crime. And this lady here, I hate her. I hate her. She is such a bitch. She talks to, like, Loki, and I'm assuming she talks this way to the other trial, defendants, whatever. This same way, she talks like you're dumb, and that she's, like, above you, and that, like, just very rudely. This is what I mean by everyone's an asshole in the TVA. Everyone is a big, huge a-hole. Talking down to these people like, oh, you didn't know you do this, how dare, like, nobody knows the TVA exists. Loki didn't know the TVA exists. He doesn't know about the crime. He doesn't know anything. And they talk down to him like he's stupid and dumb. Like, nobody knows the TVA exists until they do a crime. She's very rude. So, saying, how do you plead? It's like, nothing, I want to go home. Are you guilty or not guilty, sir? I'm like, no, I'm not guilty. The Avengers are guilty because the only reason I'm able to obtain the Tesseract is because they went and messed in time.
What they did was supposed to happen. You escaping was not.
This is what I mean. This it's really... Don't like this at all. Loki's asking some legit good questions here. And it's just extremely rude. Look at her.
I'm sorry, but they're quite busy.
Oh, they are? What are they doing?
Dictating the proper flow of time.
I hate the TVA. They're just a bunch of a-holes and they're fascistic. They're a bunch of time and space fascists. I want them to die. Anyway, he tries to use his powers, which we already talked about, like, why didn't he do that before? They sentenced him to be reset, even though, like, what evidence was there presented? Again, this whole trial thing makes no sense. Like, no evidence presented. It's like, how do you plead? Not guilty. Guilty. Reset. Next. Whatever. But anyway, Owen Wilson comes in and says, hey, I want to, I need Loki's help to find this person. It's like very much needs this. And she's like, it's not a good idea, whatever. They take him, and we find this world. There's this world that's outside space and time, which makes no sense. This is space. This is space. You can be outside of time if you want, but, like, this is space here, okay? Makes no sense. All right. And he talks to him, is like, whatever, what information's found here? So Loki is, of course, not buying it, seeing it's all absurd, it's all dumb, whatever, that kind of deal. So Owen Wilson has him sit down, and then basically wants to talk to him, and basically wants to find out about Loki. And, of course, in the conversation, really... actually, no. Something before that is that, this is where it's where Owen Wilson states, like, how come, if you guys control space and time, how come I've never heard of you now? It's like, because you never needed to know, because you never did a crime. It's like, it's completely unfair. It's completely bonkers. It makes no sense. Right. So basically he starts questioning him. Loki has his attitude, the things Loki does, which is fine. I like Loki, I like Tom Hiddleston. Then he starts to say the things that basically, whatever, he gives this little, like, freedom, is a lie, leads to these things. They're better under control, which is completely hypocritical. That's obviously what it's implying here. Like, Loki, you are trying to be what the Time Lords are, You're basically you're no better than Time Lords in terms of what they do, in terms of what you want. All right, let's see what else is here. Okay. So then he's used that, we have your whole events, everything here, whatever. And he says, now something else is like, a line that's said by Owen Wilson is, for someone who's born to rule, you sure do lose a lot. It's like, yeah, because the Time Lords want him to. That's not Loki's fault. If Loki did succeed, the Time Lords would be like, nope, against the timeline, reset him. It's like, it doesn't matter. It's like, yeah, of course he loses a lot because it's against the timeline that he loses. Basically, the officer comes in, we have a situation. It's basically the other variant. It's other variant Loki killing others again. Comes in, Loki's gone. He left the thing, the time thing there. Like, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. So, anyway, Loki escapes using the time collar thing. Finds Casey. And basically says, give me the Tesseract or I'll get you like fish. And Casey's like, what's a fish? You know, again, Casey somehow doesn't know what a fish is, even though he's like supposedly should be more intelligent in terms of knowledge than any other being in the universe because he's there. But like, there's so many implications here. It makes no sense. It's like, oh, I've been behind my desk the entire time. And then here's the next thing. Gives him the Tesseract and then frickin' Infinity Stones. There's literally a drawer full of Infinity Stones. Multiple copies. Look, multiple time stones. Multiple green, multiple purple, multiple red, multiple mind. Like, this thing is so powerful, even an Infinity Stone does not work there. Like, this makes it amazing. Amazing. Frickin' Thanos spent a whole lifetime finding stones that he could have just found if he opened up a desk. Frickin' people in the TVA use this as paperweights. Like, this changes the power dynamic. So, everything about the power dynamic changes now. Now the Infinity Stones look like nothing. Nothing. In terms of their power. Like, good grief. So anyway, this is the part where... So, the whole Infinity Stone thing. The fact that they can just take those, whatever, there's no power. Even though that these aspects of reality, like, the stones were bursted at the same time the universe was formed. You know, the Big Bang, whatever. And they form all the fundamentals of reality. They have no power here. Like, did the TVA create time? Whatever. So many questions that need answers. Whatever. All right. So anyway, it comes in, escape. They somehow don't know Loki's going to do this. Is this because he's outside space and time? Is it because they don't know how time is supposed to go in the TVA? Like, they don't know the timeline here. Is that why? It's like, you would think that these Time Lords, with their insane amount of power, literally in this place, Infinity Stones are useless. So that's an insane amount of power. Could create officer beings that are way more competent and like bigger, more powerful. Like, why are they like these normal humans? Like, we need to know the power levels of these time gods and like what the heck they can do. Can they not create more powerful beings? Because they can create a place outside space and time that even the Infinity Stones don't work there. So why not create more powerful beings? Anyway, so Loki comes in, finds the future, basically sees his future, and basically sees like the sad moments and whatever, and then sees that he gets killed by Thanos, you know, and that's the end of his life. And that basically, from this moment on, Loki realizes that he has no glorious purpose, that his future was small, and that he has no glorious purpose really in the meantime, and that basically breaks his whole world. Now, in terms of this, I kind of like, the acting is good in this thing. The acting's good. Again, Tom Hiddleston is a good actor. He's always been good. He plays a great Loki, you know. In terms of Loki, like, he's fine in this. What makes me more upset about this show is just the implications it has on the entire MCU, on the entire universe itself. You know, people said that this ruins Loki's character. I'm willing to debate that one. I'm not, like, they say, like, oh, they make him, like, sympathetic. Like, Loki's never been, like, such a ruthless whatever killer, you know? He's always had like a heart, like in the beginning, like when frickin' in Infinity War with Thanos was like starting to kill Thor. He has him stopped because he can't take seeing his brother in pain. So like Loki's always had a sense of, or like in Thor 2, when his mother dies and he finds out, it makes him angry. He still has some sympathy in there. Like I don't know where people get this idea that Loki's always been so cold-hearted since the Avengers. Like no, he not really. He kind of has an aspect to he has an admiration to rule and stuff and become a ruler, a king, whatever, but he's not completely heartless. He's never been completely heartless. So I'm willing to debate that one. But everything else about the TVA and stuff, yeah, it's all ruined. So anyway, he's pretty much fed up now. Fights this lady, gets the upper hand somewhat easily. It's like, wow, good job, TVA officers. Slaps, but at the same time, I'm happy because I hate the TVA, I hate this officer, I hate the judge, I hate the Time Lords, everything this has done for the MCU. So anytime Loki gets an upper hand on a TVA member, I'm all for it because it at least brings me some emotional satisfaction. All right, and basically just plays with her like that a lot. That was pretty fun and like, yes, you frickin' yes, Loki. You frickin' mess with that TVA officer, mess with the TVA. Anyway, Owen Wilson comes in, and basically Loki's like, no, I don't enjoy hurting people. It's because I have to, because I'm weak or whatever. I don't know what to think about that scene. Like, some people are against it, and I hear their points and stuff. But at the same time, I feel like it's not completely out of character. I don't know. I would need to go back and watch the MCU. Watch all the movies with Loki in it to see if his lines up as good as I remember, or if he was completely different in this realm. So anyway, so basically, this is where Owen Wilson reveals to him that he wants his help, and that basically like, oh, we're hunting a variant, and it's a variant of you, another copy of you. And basically, we get this. Now, this is the last thing to talk about, unless anything else pops into my head. 1858. Selena, Mongolia. So is this like the... Wait, this is Selena, Oklahoma. Sorry, not Mongolia. I'm sorry. Anyway, they come here and like, oh, this is the last part of the variant. They notice that the frickin' time is on the ground. Not time. I'm sorry. I'm losing my train of thought. Oil's on the ground, and that doesn't make them suspicious at all. So these TVA officers come in. They're like, ooh, what is this? It's an analysis. Yeah. Oh, it's like, here's the variance. Let's set a time charge, whatever. Then they see this person, sets the ground ablaze, burns all the TVA officers, kills them, and that's it. So again, the thing to talk about is like, again, if the Time Lords know everything that is to happen, everything's predetermined, they know all the events that are to happen in the space of time, because that takes place in time, 1858, Selena, Oklahoma. Can they not know about this variant Loki and what he plans to do? Like, at all? It makes the TVA is this super defined being. But they can't take down a variant Loki. Even in time, even though they're supposed to know the past, present, and future, everything that's supposed to happen, but they somehow can't capture it. Nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense. So this is what I mean when I say this is the worst thing that the MCU has ever created, all right, is it completely changes the whole, no one has free will in the MCU, because if something done outside of the timeline, that individual, whatever individual that is that made that choice, that's outside the timeline, that's out predestined, whatever to be, taken in by these space and time fascists, tried, even though like every single court case seems to lean to them getting killed. They get killed. Another version of them appears, whatever. It's like, nothing makes sense. No one knows about the TVA? What if they pop in public and multiple people see them? Do they only pop in when the person's alone? And that wouldn't make sense either, because like the red line thing that's mentioned in like the church was like, oh, it's redlining, we need to go. Like, they can't wait for that person to be alone, because that would probably be past the red line, and then they can't do anything. Because it's implied that once it reaches red line, something bad happens. It's not clear what. It's not explained. But this is the biggest problem with this show. everything in the MCU, all the events of the MCU, only happened because three space lizards said so. Three space lizards dictated to happen. Everything's supposed to happen. And that no choice is anyone's. Literally, no one has free will. Here's another question. Why do you have to bring in and try the person for their crime? Can't you just reset the timeline? Like, why do you have to bring the person in and be tried for a crime? Just reset the timeline. Why is there even a justice system? Yeah, okay, so that's about it. So yeah, this is my basic problem. I pretty much stand by that this is the worst thing to happen to the MCU. Now, is this the worst in terms of enjoyment? Maybe not. I mean, there's other MCU films that I get more bored by. But in terms of the actual writing and the actual story and the actual implications on the MCU, by far Loki's the worst. Like this, to me, is like a 2 out of 10. It's terrible. It's terrible. Nothing makes sense about this series. Nothing. It's not thought out at all. Did anyone write this? Did anyone who write this, did you think twice about anything about how this works? Like anything? Like seriously? Do you not see the inconsistencies? The break in continuity? The implications this has on the MCU? Do you not see that? This is by far the worst thing that happened in the MCU. It just is. I can't believe this. Now we know that every Marvel movie that happens in past, present, future, whatever, only happens because the Time Lords did, and because if they chose something that didn't happen, they would have been melted. Not really melted, evaporated. That's more the proper term, evaporated. You know? We know that the time variance will evaporate a person just for not having a ticket, even though they say should be on trial for their crimes. Nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense. This show's dumb. This show's dumb. Anyone who's giving it a 10 out of 10, really rethink that. Really think about the things I've said and really rethink that. Like, really 10 out of 10? You really think it's that perfect, well written, well executed, everything? Really? Now, I'm going to probably continue to watch the show because I want to see how much they either screw it up more or how much they save it. Though I don't know how much they can save here. I think it's basically one and done. Yeah, okay. I think that's about it. All right. Well, there you go. There's my kind of like review and rant about this episode. I don't know if I'm going to do this for like all the episodes. I may do like a whole series wrap up. But I just wanted to make this video talking about the episode because it really is this breaking and damaging to the MCU. So, yeah, thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, despite what you think of Loki, go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to see more content like this, subscribe. And I will see you in the next video, hopefully on something better. Bye-bye.